Thank you.
Okay, so hi everybody. At this time, we're fortunate to have Matt Wren, who is actually a city councillor in Southern Ontario, but we won't hold that against him. Guaranteed Funeral Deposits was founded in 1961. GFD is a fraternal society benefiting the bereavement sector. They offer Ontario cemeteries of all sizes, exceptional member services, including municipal run cemeteries, and a variety of pre-need trusts and care maintenance financial products designed to enable cemeteries to generate income to meet their long-term spending needs. Full disclosure, I am not only the funeral home that I work at and the transfer service that I manage are members of Guaranteed Funeral Deposits. I'm also a board member of Guaranteed Funeral Deposits. But one of the questions, the main questions I always get as when was a board member of FONOM were around municipal cemeteries. So Matt is ideally situated to explain all the options to us as with the cemeteries that either we operate today or that we'll inherit in the future. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Well, thanks so much, Mac. It's a pleasure to be with you and your colleagues from FONOM today. Greetings from the city of Brockville. My most favorite job on earth is being a city councillor. I'm serving in my first term. And if there are any clerks and treasurers on the call today, our city clerk, Sandra McDonald, is the president of AMCTO this year, and we're certainly very proud of that. And in fact, last night she was named our interim city manager because we are in the midst of filling that position, and we are very confident to be in the hands of the AMCTO president at this point in time. So I really appreciate the invitation to be with us. We did take part in your conference in the spring, I guess it was. It's hard to keep track of dates through this COVID experience, but Mac was gracious enough to invite us to be present then and present today, and we really, really appreciate it. So as Mac mentioned, we've been around, this is our 60th year at GFD, serving the bereavement sector. And my friends all laugh when I tell them I work for a not-for-profit financial institution, but that is what we are. Being a fraternal society is a society there to serve the needs of its members. And funeral homes, cemeteries, and transfer services across Ontario and beyond are those members. And we help serve them so that they can serve the families that rely on them in their communities. GFD offers a few different financial products that the bereavement sector needs, and we've got around $1 billion of prepaid funerals that we're responsible for and keep safely invested for the good of Ontario consumers. We have a full-time staff in Oakville, Ontario. I'm a licensed funeral director like Mac is, and also a municipal councillor. So when we got into the world of care and maintenance a couple of years ago, as a funeral director, I was seeing cemeteries struggle, the cemeteries I was working with in my community. Now as a municipal councillor, I'm seeing our financial coffers struggle under low returns and high management fees that come along with the traditional programs that were out there. And at GFD, we sought to solve that problem, bringing our not-for-profit and sector experience to the table. So well, we've been around for 60 years. It was only a couple of years ago we created the GFD Foyston Care Maintenance Income Fund. And the interesting thing about it is the oversight that we bring to the equation. I meet with many volunteer cemetery boards all around the province, and I've started asking them a question at the beginning of our time together, and that is, how often do you really sit down and have a thorough review and analysis with the investment manager that's looking after your cemetery care maintenance funds? And in recent meetings, I've heard everything from the last time was 5 years ago to, well, the trustee, we asked for a meeting and they said we were too small and they didn't provide that kind of service. So you've got, generally speaking, volunteers or municipal staff or counselors that are responsible for this program and this fund. Certainly in the municipal world, we certainly know the priorities and where the cemetery often will fit in that list of priorities that we're all responsible for. And the truth is that many cemetery boards or managers just don't spend a lot of time paying close attention to how their care and maintenance funds are being invested and managed. At GFD, we've solved that problem a little bit. Again, being we're not-for-profit and with our board governance structure mirroring that of a municipality in many ways, we've created a care maintenance investment committee from our board. And that includes some very experienced cemeterians. It includes a retired actuary, the CFO of an energy company, and legal counsel. And every quarter, the Care and Maintenance Investment Committee is sitting down with our investment manager, reviewing the performance of the fund and the direction of the fund in the upcoming quarter, and paying very, very close attention. So we've kind of, in a sense, taken that responsibility off the hands of our members if they wish to avail themselves of being, offhand of that. Of course, we want our members to be knowledgeable and up to speed on what's going on. So our investment manager hosts a quarterly conference call that all our members can log into and hear directly from the investment manager what's going on with the program. When we set it up, we kind of created it, it's a bit of a triple P sort of, or a twist on a triple P. So GFD, my organization, we handle all the administration and promoting the program around the province, but we actually never touch your money. When we set this fund up, we approached our friends at Comtech Fire and Credit Union, one of the largest credit unions in Ontario. They have a lot of GFD's pre-need portfolio under investment in credit union GICs, and they agreed to be the trustee of the program. And together, along with our board and Comtech, we went out to market for an investment manager, and we chose FGP, Foyce and Gordon Payne, a privately owned Toronto investment management company. They've got huge experience in the cemetery sector, though. They've handled the investments for one of the largest religious cemetery operators in the country for many years, and so they know what they're doing when it comes to care and maintenance programs. How our fund works, the cemetery would open a capital account, and so the capital that you're working with would be transferred into the program and would purchase units with the capital. On a monthly basis, we calculate the net asset value, and that's how we determine the income that your capital has earned in that period. We hold your income in an income account, which also earns a little bit of interest along the way. It's not just sitting there doing nothing. And on a quarterly basis, we release the income to you that the fund has produced. By law, any capital gains that accrue must remain and be reinvested in your capital account. So it's only the income that's being earned that's being paid out to you on a quarterly basis. Foyston has chosen 3 different buckets, shall we say, to invest in the program, because the objective with care and maintenance, although of course we want to protect your capital and grow it at least to keep up with the level of inflation, but the whole objective of this program, because you can never touch the capital, is to produce income with which you look after the maintenance of your cemetery with. So Foyston has chosen 3 different funds that they offer. The Canadian Equity Dividend Fund, the Corporate Plus Bond Fund, and the Preferred Share Fund, because all of these equities, all very high value, high quality equities, all produce income on a regular basis, and that's what we're looking for. So this is a natural asset mix that you see. It's almost a third, a third, and a third. But what Foyston's doing on a daily basis is monitoring the markets and rebalancing the fund according to where we need to be with what's going on in the market. So at any given time, these percentages will be different because FGP is doing their job in managing this fund on a daily basis so that you don't have to. As far as expenses, and this is really what GFD thought we could bring to the table by creating this fund, we've kept the fees completely transparent and as affordable as possible. And when we've moved funds from other trustees, we found, cemeteries were paying 1.5, 1.9, 2% plus in management fees. And sometimes it was very hard for them to know exactly what they were paying with the complicated structure that their program was set up within. So our fees are pretty simple, 90 basis points, 0.9 of 1 percentage point. And that is split between the 3 parties that are running the program: the trustee, Comtech, The investment manager gets the largest share because they're doing the bulk of the work and producing the results, and then GFD, our organization. It's important to tell you that the fees are never charged against capital. It's against the law to do that. And there have been a couple of situations that the Bereavement Authority of Ontario ran into over the last few years where they realized that fees were being taken out of capital and trustees had to replace those funds. You can't touch your capital except for a couple of reasons within law, but certainly not to pay fees to a trustee. There are no membership fees to join GFD or be part of this program. And likewise, if ever somebody joined and decided to move on somewhere else, not that we know why they'd ever do that or hope they never would, there's never a cost to withdraw from the program. The only costs involved are the management fees charged to you quarterly out of income earned. And if there's no income, that's never happened, by the way. If there's no income, there'd be no fees. The other couple of important aspects, when we were talking with the BAO and building this program, they were telling us that cemeteries really struggle with keeping up with the administration, the paperwork, the annual reports, and license renewals. And they asked GFD if there's anything that we could do to support the sector with this program, it would be to help cemeteries with the administrative burden that they work under. So we've been doing that for decades with funeral homes across the province. We're known for our reporting capabilities, and we've tailor-made our reporting for the needs that cemeteries have in being compliant with the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Services Act. We provide a full suite of reporting monthly on the income that was earned by your fund, quarterly from FGP on how the program has done financially. And then GFD has built a year-end summary. Any of you that have been part of filing your annual license renewal with the BAO know that there's a little bit of a complicated Form 2 that needs to be provided to the BAO. So we've basically created a year-end summary that's a mirror image of Form 2 so that you can just transfer the data we're providing you over to that document. So long as we were your only trustee, you can't have more than one. That's why we don't fill the form out for you. But in any event, we provide you all the data that you would need to complete that form and complete it accurately. We've got a dedicated team in Oakville to answer your day-to-day needs 5 days a week. And all of our processes are paperless for both submitting new funds and then receiving the deposit back to you of the income earned. Just to touch on that for a second, we created a great online tool. So your cemetery administrator logs into a secure site when property has been purchased or interment rights have been purchased in your cemetery. You simply log in, fill in how many graves, how many columbarium spaces, how many markers and monuments were installed. And this is a calculator. So it has built in what the statutory minimum requirements are for deposit to care and maintenance and the percentage basis calculation, depending on which applies to your program. Basically, your administrator can fill in all these boxes of what activity they have had in terms of sales of interment rights. The calculator does the math. When the result is compatible that the calculator generates with what your records show, you simply hit submit, and we've got all of our cemeteries set up for electronic banking. So we draw the funds out of your appointed account and then invest them in the program, and new units are purchased at the first of every calendar month. The onboarding process is the other part that we've provided a lot of assistance with. It's not the simplest thing of picking up the phone and calling wherever your funds currently are and sending them over to GFD. If you should choose to join, we'd love to have you and wish it could be that easy, but there is a bit of a process involved. The BAO does need to give permission for the creation of a new account, and we help with all the compliance matters, complete all the documentation and so forth. I just want to touch on that for a second. Municipalities enjoy a little bit of leniency here, that you can be your own trustee. So we don't have a way in our program to carve out the trustee, although their portion as far as fees go is very, very minimal. In talking to some municipal officials that I work with closely, they feel that there is still benefit to municipalities in just using this program as a whole, rather than carving out the trusteeship and keeping that as your own, although GFD would certainly discuss that with any municipality that felt that was of interest. The other reason I bring it up, though, is that some of the approval process wouldn't quite apply to municipalities the same way as it would, a not-for-profit or religious cemetery in terms of the BAO approving the transfer of your funds, because you're already the trustee. Again, all that will be coordinated, and we provide full customer service to support the transfer process and certainly beyond. So I wanted to keep it brief, and I'm happy to handle any questions that you might have. If I may, I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see if there are any questions. And I think Mac's providing this presentation to you after, so that all my contact information is on the last screen if you'd like to get a hold of us directly. So I will stop sharing my screen. Back to you, Mac.
Thank you. Just going to steal back control. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So at this time, if there are any questions of Matt, of course, I have a few. And I know I think I know the answers, Matt, but I'll ask them anyways. Is that so? If there was a small religious cemetery or a small religious cemetery in a community in Northern Ontario, and they had struggled to have volunteers because the volunteers are aging, and they're not getting new people volunteering for religious cemetery boards. And the critical thing that I hear from them is the reporting that they have to do to the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, especially when they went from the Board of Funeral Services to the BOA. There was a different reporting mechanism for them, and it was much more a huge learning curve. And so if that cemetery, they've got three choices. They can continue on with declining volunteers. They can turn the cemetery over to the municipality. So the municipality then has to inherit the costs. Or if they wanted, the only thing that's the major hurdle is the annual reporting. GFD through the process can help them with that reporting, so that maybe the volunteers can stay there longer, and so it doesn't so the municipality doesn't not inherit a cemetery. Is that pretty much what you can offer?
Very, very good points, Mac. And the last thing any municipality wants to do is to have to inherit a cemetery, but the way that the regulations are structured in Ontario, that's exactly what happens when the operator isn't able to continue. But like I was saying, the registrar indicated to us that that was a big struggle, and so we designed our program specifically to help just with that. So this year-end report that we provide does make it very simple for that volunteer cemetery administrator to complete their BAO documentation. But we've also got a great experienced team behind us. Everybody has bereavement sector experience. And in fact, one of my colleagues is the former registrar of cemeteries of the province of Ontario. So we do a lot of hand-holding at the end of the year. And when these volunteers are calling in with questions, we're there to help them, and we will do our very best to guide them through completing their annual returns. We wish we could complete them for them. We can't take it quite that far, but we sure can walk down the path and help them make sure that the package that they're sending to the BAO for approval will be complete and ready to be reviewed when it gets there.
So can you just walk us through a process if for one reason or another, a cemetery in a community decides to turn it over to municipalities, GFD can still assist that municipality because they may not, the clerk may not want to get into the cemetery business, but if they inherit it, they inherit it. But you can ease the clerks and the financial department's workload by the municipality joining GFD. Is that correct?
Yes, most certainly. We are working with a couple of municipalities. It's a new program, and so municipalities weren't the first organizations through the door at GFD, but we're really thrilled to started being able to work with municipalities this past year. And yes, we could do exactly that, from our online tools to make it easy for the administrator to submit new deposits if there are still ongoing sales of interment rights happening in the cemetery. The other thing that you can do under law, an operator that has multiple cemeteries can have one fund. So a municipality that has multiple sites and multiple accounts here and there and everywhere for the different cemeteries that they operate can amalgamate those all together. And then just from the return point of view, I don't know how things went in North Bay this past year, Mac, or in other municipalities with your investments, but I was a little concerned to see the level of return that our municipal investments earned this past year with all the COVID pressures. But certainly the GFD program provided, far superior to 5-year GIC rates in terms of income returned to the cemeteries. Plus, we grew the capital at the same time. And I know our municipality, the capital didn't grow at all, and they just received a meager return that we could have almost tripled had the program been with us. For obvious reasons, I haven't been able to pitch my own municipality too strenuously at this point in time, but we are happy to be working with a few around the province as we speak.
Well, Matt, as you're aware, this presentation is being recorded, and we'll be sending out the recording to all of our member municipalities. And if any, to those that are still on the Zoom, if anybody in your municipality has a question, or if your clerk or treasurer has a cemetery and you may just want to have a conversation with them about how they handle their reporting or reporting, do they find it easy, or would they like some assistance and a better rate of return? Again, full disclosure, I'm a board member of GFD. And Matt and his team are able to answer and assist your clerks moving forward. So thanks very much. Thank everyone for joining us today for our second quarterly learning morning. Our next one will be February 17th in the new year. And I'll remind everyone, as Danny mentioned earlier, the FONOM conference will be held in North Bay in person February 9th, 10th, and 11th, which is a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. Thanks very much. Thanks everyone for your participation today, and thanks to all of the speakers that presented to us. Take care.